So let's talk variants real quick, okay? I don't think until we were prepping for this pod, I had really considered how many variants we have seen up to this point.
I didn't either, because my head went the Kangs that we all just saw.
Yep.
And the Lokis.
Yep.
That's where my head went.
Right.
And I forgot about the other ones.
Oh my.
And then you're like, Spider-Man. I'm like, Toby!
Right.
I forgot about Toby.
Yes.
We had 2 Spider-Man variants.
Yep.
And Toby and Andrew.
Right.
And then who else did we have? We had another variant too.
We've had a ton of variants, Riley. The Doctor Strange movie has all of the Doctor Strange variants. You have Wanda variants.
You have a Mordo variant.
You have a Mordo variant. You've got Professor Xavier.
Do you count that as a variant?
They are. By the definition of the variant, as it's defined in the MCU, an alternate character or different character in a different universe. I mean, shoot, you want to go back to Endgame, okay? Gamora and Nebula, we get variants of those characters. Shoot, you can get a variant of Thanos. It's wild. Now, not to the extreme of He Who Remains and Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, Thanos. Right? Thanos is a weird one because it's like
they're
a
very
younger
adjacent.
Thanos.
Right? They're very adjacent. They're the same personality, different times. But every character, as we come to find out in the Loki show, is a variant. Right? That's one of the big reveals in the show is that, hey, everyone that's working for the TVA, you're all variants. All of you. That's pretty wild. So I'm impressed at how well, and maybe everybody who's listening to this is going, well, yeah, dude, duh. But I'm impressed at how well and how detailed Marvel has been at unwrapping that particular layer of Phase 4 and Phase 5 and the phases to come. That's really well done. They've eased into that in a very deliberate and yet thorough way that, upon reflection, I can really respect. And that's exciting to think about. All the variants we've seen so far, it makes me very eager for more. I don't know about you.
Well, and it surprisingly worked well.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't like, oh, great, it's a different version of this person, and then they died.
Right.
And it's like, ugh. It wasn't that bad. Hasn't been that bad yet.
No.
And if anybody was mad that Toby came back, they can fight me.
Oh, boy. Yeah. And Andrew Garfield was...
And Andrew. I will fight for Andrew, too.
Wow, right? Who saw that coming? So I agree, that's been quite delightful. Quite delightful so far, and I hope and expect that will continue. So along those lines, we thought it'd be fun to do a top 5 of...
Top 5.
Yes. Another classic, JP and the Beans. Top 5 variants that we would like to see in future MCU films.
I'm curious to see if we're going to even have anything similar on this.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because this can be anything.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is just who we want to see.
Right. Total personal preference here, not necessarily predicting, just more of a, hey, this is what we'd like to see. This is what we would find entertaining. I think we're going to have, I think we're going to have 1 or 2. But I think there's going to be a lot of differences here. So
I bet we have 1.
Okay.
I have an idea.
Love it.
What that one could be.
All right. Riley, you go first.
At
number 5.
Number 5. I have a very controversial one.
Oh, great.
And by that, I mean it was controversial when he first came into existence. I'm going with Hydra Cap. Now, here's what would be great about that, is if he came over from a different universe.
Sure.
And told people, hey, I'm this universe's Captain America. Haha. And then switch. That's how you could do it. I think it would be great. And I think it would give Chris Evans, be like a refreshing break from being Captain America, yet still being Captain America.
Mm-hmm. And he could pull it off.
Oh, he could do it.
He could pull it off. Did you see the Netflix movie The Gray Man with him and...
But he's the bad guy in it, isn't he?
Yeah. Jiminy Christmas. Ryan Gosling. Yeah, the Russo brothers directed that movie. Correct. He plays the bad guy. A bad guy named Lloyd, by the way, which is fantastic. And executes it very well. So I could see him being Hydra Cap and enjoying it.
He can nail douchebag really well. Got to give him props.
Yeah.
He was Johnny Storm for 2 movies.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's a good call. Okay, I like that one. All right, my number 5. I'm staying on the Kang theme here for a minute. I'd like to see a good Kang that wants to help the Avengers, but here's kind of my pitch, okay? He's not very powerful. He's one of the weaker Kangs, okay? So by good, I don't necessarily mean that he's altruistic. It's just that we talked about that tier of 0 to 100. He's in the single digits, okay? He's not that imposing, but he's highly motivated to take down all of his variants. And so you go from having this, like, extraordinarily powerful, number of Kangs that can just wreak all kinds of havoc to this dude, where he's a little measly and pathetic, but he just desperately wants to win, and so he teams up with the Avengers. I could see that being kind of hilarious. So, good Kang. My number 5. Okay. You brought up Hydra Cap. I like that. I see your Hydra Cap, and I raise you for my number 4, and old Captain America.
Bring him back when he's just an old fart.
That's right. Bring back the old Cap. Let him oversee the development, for example, of all these new Avengers. Popping stories about, well, back in the day, me and Hawkeye and Black Widow, right? We're on the run.
It would be fantastic.
It would be fantastic. He's cracking wise. Everybody's like, this dude's washed up. All of a sudden, boom, shield ends up in his hand, and wham, he's taken down. Take your pick. Freaking Moon Knight. Mark Spector is on the ground, has no idea what's happened because he blacked out, because that's what Mark Spector does. Too soon. Tough. But old Cap, I would find that absolutely delightful. So, old Cap, my number 4. Your number 4, Riles.
My number 4 takes me back to the 1940s.
Oh my.
With the old Shield. I'm going with classic Nick Fury. And by classic Nick Fury, I don't mean Samuel L. Jackson. I mean
Sorry, Sam.
I mean Earth 616 Nick Fury.
Caucasian.
I just like the idea of having that Nick Fury in the same room as Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, and then just watching the two Nick Furies beef off each other. You know what I mean?
That's an absolutely great idea.
Because they would be suspicious of each other the entire time.
Jones play Nick Fury?
That is honestly a fantastic choice.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Right?
That's one person I did not think of. That would be fantastic for
be
that.
great.
Yes. An old Tommy Lee Jones.
You bet.
Nick Fury.
Yep.
I think seeing a classic Nick Fury would be awesome.
It's either Tommy Lee Jones, or if they hadn't already cast him as Thunderbolt Ross, Harrison Ford. Bring him in.
He wouldn't have been bad.
No.
Maybe when he was a little younger.
Sure.
But he would have been great.
Yeah. No, Tommy would be great.
See, because I also think Harrison Ford could have been a great old Captain America, too.
Oh, my. Yeah. Yep.
So.
Very salty.
Right.
Very salty.
Right.
That's great.
So that's my number 4.
Great number 4. Who do you got at number 3?
My number 3 is Miles Morales.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it's about time we bring Miles in. Now, I'm hoping for maybe after Spider-Man 4, because I want Peter to be established as his own superhero by himself before he takes on somebody else under his wing.
Yep.
So I'm thinking Spidey 4, maybe Spidey 5, he starts taking on Miles. So that's when I'd like to see Miles Morales. But I think that'd be dope to see him and Peter together on screen.
Yep. No, it's a great pick. My number 3, I'm staying with the elderly. This time we're going with old King Thor. All right, this is heavily inspired by the comic that I talked about so much prior to the release of Thor 4, where you got old King Thor, present-day Thor, and young Thor all partnering together to try and take down Gore, the God Butcher. Now, in the comic, old King Thor has outlived everybody in Asgard. Literally everyone else in Asgard is dead. Killed by Gore. And Gore is really, at this point, just messing with old King Thor. He is sending his mongrel hordes to do battle with old King Thor. Just enough to keep the guy interested and engaged and alive, but never to actually totally finish him off, because he wants, Gore that is, wants to save old King Thor for the final coup de grace at the very end of his God Bomb scheme. But old King Thor, when he pairs up with present-day Thor, In young Thor, what's great about him is he does exactly what the old guy should do. He gives those two Thors so much crap. Endless crap. Like, he is constantly telling them about how weak they are, how it's a shame that neither of them have beards, because of course he has a beard, and that he can't believe how dumb he was when he was that young, and now that he's seeing them, he's like, I can't believe I was this foolish and stupid. It's incredible. The dialogue is top notch. So if you're going to have old King Thor, you of course have to pair him up with present day Thor, but that would just be endless fun. So that's where I'm at with my number 3, old King Thor. My number 2, Magneto, and a very specific Magneto as portrayed by Michael Fassbender.
Fun fact, that would be the one that I forgot for this list.
There's always the one.
Right. I remembered it. Fun fact, though, I remembered him before you brought him up.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring him up as an honorable mention because he would probably be number 2 on this list for me as well. But yes, Michael Fassbender, Magneto.
Oh my goodness.
Please continue.
He's perfect.
Perfect.
He's perfectly cast for that role. And when you bring him in, no más, no more anti-hero. Give me Magneto as the bad guy who has embraced I'm doing this because I believe that mutants are the superior species, humans are dog meat, and so mutants are going to take over. This is just how it's supposed to be. I would love to see him lean into that. Mind you, I thought his portrayal was terrific as the conflicted anti-hero in the X-Men, call it first class, origin story and saga. But when he leans into the bad dude, that is top notch. Fassbender is incredible.
Badass. He's a badass.
Give me that Magneto all day long. That's my number 2.
My number 2. Bring me Superior Iron Man.
Ooh.
Bring back Robert Downey Jr., but he's not so good of a guy.
Uh-huh.
I think he could. Again, I think
I almost went this direction. I love that you're going there.
Right, and I think this goes along with the Chris Evans thing. I think if you give Robert Downey Jr. the same character with a different take, I think that's enticing enough for him to be like, okay, I'm in. Mm-hmm. And then just to watch him go to work and actually dismantle some people as Iron Man. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you imagine Superior Iron Man in Secret Wars versus Peter Parker, Spider-Man? That would be tough for Peter.
Yeah.
So I think the possibilities there are. And then that goes for all the Avengers, too, that are still around.
Correct.
Thor versus an evil Iron Man? Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Superior Iron Man, my number 2.
That's a great number 2.
Give him the sweet white symbiotic armor. From the comics.
Yeah. Love it. All right, who do you got number 1?
My number 1. You already mentioned him. I have Old Man Thor as my number 1.
Ah, yes.
I would love to see Chris Hemsworth be an old Thor. Mm-hmm. I would love to see him kind of be like this grandfather over a bunch of other people, and just kind of see him be like, oh yeah, I'm old, but I'm still going to destroy everyone here, right? So I think
in the comics he has the arm of the destroyer.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Great.
It's badass.
It's great.
Old King Thor is a badass. Yeah. So and then
he's got the Thor Force. It's not the Odin Force anymore. It's the Thor Force.
Right. Missing an eyeball because they all do.
Yep.
Has 2 crows because they all do. Mm-hmm. I'm all in. And he has 3 granddaughters too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can have some fun with that if you want to, but not really my big thing. Yep. But and like you said, I think seeing an old Chris Hemsworth with a middle, not middle-aged, but his present day. Yes. That would be phenomenal. It would be phenomenal.
Yeah, it would just be absolute gold. That's great. That's great. I love that pick. My number 1, give me World Breaker Hulk at number 1. All right. So World War Hulk is an exquisite comic storyline, and we have had pieces, moments, instances of outstanding Hulk content in the movies, but I have not had my fill of Hulk. I want the Hulk that is out of control and has no interest in stopping, rampaging, and having there being a real question of, can this guy actually be stopped?
And if you think about it, we only had that for 3 movies.
I know.
We had it for The Incredible Hulk, Avengers, Avengers 2.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of Ragnarok.
A little bit of Ragnarok, yeah. But he was still a little bit more, I don't know. He wasn't, like, letting loose. What I did like about Ragnarok's Hulk is he had a personality.
True.
Which was a lot better than gorilla noises.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair.
But you're absolutely right. Worldbreaker Hulk, you bring in the most badass form of the Hulk.
I want him to have already conquered a world, become its king, and the idea that he was originally exiled by his fellow Avengers from Earth to this world, and now he's coming back for vengeance, is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, give me the Planet Hulk, World War Hulk version of Hulk, and I would just be absolutely delighted by that variant.
100% in.
Love to see it. So that's my number 1. That's a great top 5.
I think it's a fantastic
you
top
absolutely
5.
called it. Just the one overlap. That's great.